Well, before we really get into that, I mean, I think it's really valuable. We're always so big in sharing our information with our friends and our family, and especially our kids, because we're just true believers in this idea of cash flow and just how it opens up your life. So maybe you could do more of this stuff. There's some people that couldn't be here this week because they couldn't get out of work. And a lot of us don't have that problem because we create our own work. And that's the message we really want to share here tonight, so you can do more of the things that you want to do and not the things you have to do when someone tells you. Back to the real estate, the idea, Saul had this incredible machine of house flipping, and I know all about it because I used to be part of that machine as well. But Saul did a great job in taking that machine and laying it right over commercial real estate. Yeah, he was able to implement all these systems that he created in the house flipping business, which was kind of new to a lot of commercial real estate people because we were set in our ways and we didn't believe in a lot of volume. And I mean, Saul just took the old school ways of cold calling and postcards and whatever the hottest and greatest CRMs were and software, and you brought that right into commercial real estate. And you actually influenced a lot of the guys around you to start using all that information.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought we were doing a human. Let me roll with the first question. Do you mind sharing us, if you go back to humble beginnings, how did you start your, whether real estate or entrepreneurial career? Maybe you can tell us, young folks.
Sure. I mean, I have a joke with Shio. I wasn't much of a baseball player growing up. So the only way I really could participate was by selling candy and soda at the baseball games. And I realized at an early age that no one was really going to give me money. I grew up in a middle-class family, but they weren't going to give me money. But if I made money, I could spend it any way I wanted to spend it. And I was definitely influenced by a lot of music in life. And I wanted to buy all the gadgets and the boxes and the guitars and the amps. And so the more I sold, the more I could buy. So yeah, it started out from that early age, going to local baseball games and selling candy. I ran a kitchen in a synagogue for Friday night bingo. We used to make sandwiches and cakes. And from there, I guess when things really started to get more serious, my family was into selling clothing, women's clothing. And we'd go over to these flea markets and set up shop. And for me, that was like raw capitalism, where you buy something for $5 and sell it for $10 or $10 for $20. Not just stop at one sale, but just assume everybody was going to buy 12 from you. And if they didn't, ask them what was wrong with them. So, really high-powered, pressured selling, but if you believed in the product, then they should buy a dozen. Sometimes you have to help people believe in themselves and believe in the product. I did that for a while, and it was nice. It was always nice having extra cash in my pocket, and I started saving money.
How old are you?
Those were probably the middle school and high school days. But so the entrepreneurial stuff really started at a young age. I think everyone should read a lot of books. There's so much stuff out there right now on YouTube. More importantly, I think you should practice it and put it into action. If you read it, that's great, but you really have to put it into action, execute, and if it works, great. If not, then go work on something else and figure out what works for you especially. The real estate for me, and I found myself in Texas, and I was just looking around one time and I was saying to myself, how do all these people buy all these houses? And I was just so far from making that happen. And then I just started reading about it. I finally had an opportunity to go buy an investment house for $23,000. I figured out how to do it with like very little money. I borrowed money from people. We fixed it up for like $7,000. We rented it for $30,000. And then it just all really started to take off from there. And a lot of you know or maybe some of the kids here don't know it, but I was definitely involved in the World Trade Center situation, the 9/11 attacks. In New York City. Some of you obviously definitely weren't born, but I can tell you that to begin that there were, if you can imagine, there's a building on fire, there's something horrible happening, you have all these brave firemen and fire and police and whoever, first responders running into a building that was just on fire and collapsing and risking their lives. So you just see stuff like that, and it changes your life to see how people react to these kind of situations. Part of my story was I worked on the 101st floor of one of those buildings, and I happened to have left by sheer luck the day before. Roy actually has something to do with it. I mean, we're not in a rush here, but Roy and I grew up together in New York, and he made a phone call like a month in advance and says, hey, look, it's been a long time. We had a neighborhood band called Anthrax. He's like, why don't we go see them? Judas Priest. And I always had in the back of my mind that I was going to go September 10th to be somewhere on 9/11. So that morning that I was leaving, this product wasn't ready on time. And there was like 40 of us that we were going to take this trip. There's 44 people on the team. The CEO called down and just canceled the trip for everybody. And I felt like I needed to go. Because I had dinner plans. I wanted to go to the show and I wanted to see my customers. So everybody cancels their trip, but 2 people. And we're leaving and we're like jumping on this elevator right now on the 101st floor, the North Tower in New York City. The phone rings again. It's the CEO of the company. He's like, hey, only one of yous are going, just one, because the product's not ever, and it's not ready on time. It's just like this kind of conversation between 2 people, Saul, you go, and I go, and you go, and I'm like, I don't, no, you go. And he's like, he finally said to me that his wife was pregnant, and he'd just rather stay home. And I'm like, okay, I want to go. I really want to go. So I jumped on that elevator, and that elevator stopped off at the 72nd floor, and then it would shoot down. That was a big change in my life. I woke up the next day, I saw what was happening. I got caught up once again in my life in corporate America. And I'll never forget, I was just in this room and clearly things were gonna change in my life. People were dying. That company lost 700 out of 1,000 people. And basically 40 out of 44 died on my team. So there's not even 44 people here. Imagine I'm the only survivor. I had to make some decisions because I realized that I didn't own any branding. I couldn't really control my future. I didn't know if they were gonna stay in business. I felt vulnerable. And I asked myself, how did it come to this? Because I was always the entrepreneur. I was the guy that sold the candy at the baseball game or the shirts at the flea market, or I had some other ideas. That week, I spent the whole week by myself, and I really got back to my roots. I definitely had some mourning going on, survivor guilt. Everything was just very tough for me that week, but I decided that I was going to get back to who I truly, really was, the entrepreneur, the one with the business ideas. What changed in my life after that was basically I had a new home in Hoboken, New Jersey. I needed to rent it because I had to move to Houston with the company that I was currently working for. And through renting that place, I realized a month or 2 or 3 months later when I looked at the account was going up. And I was like, wow, there's really money to be made in renting property. So that was really the official time in my life where I said, you know what? This real estate game is real. And, Robert Kiyosaki used to always say, how many can you buy if it's positive cash flow, which is infinite. That changed everything. I stayed with the company I worked for, not for like a few months. I started my own firm as an entrepreneur, but more importantly for this conversation, for 10 years straight, once a month, I bought a rental property. That was like 120 houses while I was running another firm. I had 2 Apple phones. One was for the rental business and the other one was for my life and my businesses outside of the real estate realm. It was the way to go. Finally, I had the opportunity in like 2010 when I had a good run in the commodity business and I founded the business, and every time I get a bonus. Get a bonus, I buy a house. Get a bonus, buy a house. And you're gonna find in life, not everybody thinks like that. Some of the guys I worked with, love those guys, but they were degenerate gamblers. They partied too much. They stayed up very late and did late night things, and they blew it all. I mean, I'd watch them make $50 to $100 or $200,000 a month, and they're not making that anymore, that's for sure. But they don't have a sustainable income. If I could wish something for all of you here, I'd wish that you create a sustainable income for yourself. Because time's gonna go by one way or another. You're gonna get older one way or another. I used to have this thing when Jake was born. I bought a house, a rental house when Jake was born, and I followed this formula. And it turned out the formula was pretty much correct, even though I sold it a little too early. But I held on to it for like 15 or 18 years while Jake was growing up. And the idea was buy the house, cash flow it. I thought about the math the other day, and I probably made like $120,000 to $150,000 in one of those Pasadena houses that I set aside for your college education. And what do you think? What's your college education going to cost? $120, right? I really got to count up to a few hundred rental properties. And then 2010 came around, and commercial real estate was going on sale for the first time. So I started buying apartment buildings, and that was a whole nother entrepreneur endeavor. Every 90 days for 5 years, we picked up an apartment complex. So, and if I could just say something about that time period, you know, occasionally in life, there's things that are gonna go on sale. So if you notice that, why not buy them? Buy them cheap, right? A lot of those apartment buildings that we bought for $5, $10, $15, $20,000 a door go for $50,000 to $100,000 a door right now. So, you know, when you see those opportunities, I think we should jump on them. That's the apartment business. I ended up buying a few thousand units, but let's stay more on track.
I want to pivot to another conversation, pretty much tie to this theme and why we're here. I'm just curious, when was the first time you introduced to giving back? I know you were with Tony, and I know you had a great story buying a house to one of your family members. Maybe you can unpack here a little bit. Maybe, you know, tell us how it changed your life.
We like group activities. You know, a lot of you know that we go away for adventures, and we go away for these real estate seminars, and business seminars. And it was, a few years ago or 5 years ago, we were somewhere in Idaho on a river.
Rafting.
Yeah, rafting. And I guess we were kind of new friends, but you had this Lithuania group. I won't say Russian group, okay? We didn't really know each other yet, but, you know, kind of you guys had this like Russian attitude. You know, it was new. We didn't really know it. It was kind of stone cold. I didn't really want to be on your raft. I wanted to be on the raft of, you know, my buddies and, you know, the Americans. But yeah, no, I took a chance. You know, take a chance, right? And I went in their raft, and for like the whole day, we were making a commitment. They pulled out these stack of cards, and there was like those question cards. I was just hearing like all these like truths about them and what they do for their family and how they're flying over, or the stories of what it was like when they were growing up in countries that were invaded by Russia. I'll just never forget. It's like Rafik and you and Arnold, and you guys just flew all your family members over. And a lot of us here in America, family's important, but it's also important to not spend too much time with your family here in America.
I can see that.
So we can make, you know, new families and forget about the families we came from. Jake, that's not for you. Anyway, I heard some really touching stories, and then I thought about one of my sisters. We had a challenging childhood, and I just believed in, at this time in my life, tough love and get over it, and I wasn't going to enable any of my siblings because of the situations they found themselves in. But one was really in a really bad situation. Maybe something bad could have happened. It probably would have. So after spending the whole day with these guys, I went out and I bought my sister a $300,000 house, and that would never have happened. It's just, I don't think it would have happened. Never say never. I don't think it would have happened. It wasn't on my mind. It turns out it was the right thing to do. So I was always so thankful to you guys. No one's even gonna know like what that raft ride meant to me, to see these guys, all the struggles they went through and how family is important to them. And they still kind of, they do these like weird get-togethers every Sunday with big dinners and saunas. It's unbelievable. And then it just kept spreading the love. One of my employees that helped me in the housing business, I gave her a house. So and look what we're doing here together. I mean, coincidentally, we're giving somebody a house. So houses are good gifts.
I think for wrap up, the question I had in mind is there anything you can tell to many of these young souls that you wish you would know when you were at their age?
How much time do we have here?
Well, technically we have half an hour, you know, but yeah.
Some things that I'd love to share. Well, first of all, I think you should always do more than you're asked, because then nothing's going wrong. Always do more than you're asked, and it'll follow you. I think you should always stay busy. I think people ask busy people to do things because they can count on them, and you get in a rhythm, in your groove, and before you know it, you're just knocking everything out all the time. I talked about the real estate, and I understand, maybe not, real estate's not for everybody, but let's call it a side hustle. I think side hustles are important, super important, because we're all gonna get older, and we're all gonna have less physicality. You might wanna do things that are totally different than what you're doing right now, and I want you to do that, because that's why you're probably put on this earth in the first place. to do things like that. You just need to work on setting yourself up. Set yourself up for success, set yourself up for independence, and set yourself up for cash flow, set yourself up financially. And look, money isn't everything. Happiness is so much more important than money. I don't meet too many miserable rich people, to be honest with you.
I have another saying. I've seen many people who don't have enough money, but haven't seen anyone who complain having too much money.
College, I know a lot of you are in college or the ones that are here. I really hope that you get the opportunity to take the classes that you want to take and not just the ones that conveniently fit into your schedule. It is a pretty cool time in life. I would do that differently. I mean, I didn't take high school or college that seriously. I wish I did. I never took one single business class in college, and I wish I did.
Is there classes, let's say, you think that are very important? It has to be individual chosen. Like, which classes you wish you were taking when you were that age?
I wish I took an accounting class. I mean, I spent so much money on accountants, it's unbelievable. I'm really into meditation these days. I wish I knew more about wellness and health back in the day. You guys definitely have the opportunity to live past 100, if not even more of what's coming. The way I see it, the better you take care of your body now, the stronger you're going to be when you are 100. I think everybody should wake up early. I think everybody should exercise first thing in the morning. I know everybody should work on their mindset before they even walk out the door. Every morning. There's just no sense in going through life not knowing what you're going to do the day you wake up. Yeah, there just isn't. You should just, you should have a plan. You should write it down. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I always have 100 goals. I can show you my goals. Every time I have a fair amount, like 20 or 30 minutes to myself, or if I'm on a plane, or if I'm in the bathroom or something, I'll just start checking off the ones that I did. I don't even record them. I just take them off. Because there's so many coming in. Always keep that list going, and sometimes in life, you're not sure what to do next. What are you gonna do tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock? But if you have that list, schedule it. I schedule my goals on my calendar. I have my assistant work on my goals.
So technical question. Yeah. So let's say those 100 goals, you did checking them off to complete it, or you sometimes you update the goals? Or are some of the goals going away if you have a better goal?
Goals could be dangerous too, because goals change. So sometimes I just completely take them off my list if they've been there too long. I'm not going to beat myself up over not achieving my goals. That meant something to me 2 months ago, and today it doesn't mean anything. So get it off there. I use emojis, I'll use that sweat emoji if I'm halfway through it or if I'm stuck. Yeah, it's super, super important. If you get anything out of what's happening in this conversation right now, put down 5, 10, 15, 20 goals on your yellow sticky on your phone and go through it all the time. Because today was such a successful day. I don't want to brag. I mean, I think we killed it.
We killed it. Yeah,
I think they don't even know what to do with us tomorrow.
I've heard we're number 2 so far after that builder group. We're so far number 2 after the builder group that were in the last couple of years. Yeah.
And I can promise you that we're richer than the builder group. But that's because we all had a common goal today. I mean, there was nothing but hammers, right? I mean, everybody was a John Henry. Sure, I'm gonna say I wish I said this instead of that, because like I said the other day in my Thanksgiving dinner, I was I care about everybody here. How many people do you really know outside of your immediate family, your immediate friends? And the circles aren't so big, and there's 6 billion people on this planet, so there's a reason why we're all sitting here right now, and you're listening to me. So take it to heart, because you're all gonna be hugely successful. Look what you're doing right now.
Thank you, Alan. It was great. Really appreciate it.
All right. Any questions?
That's the first question.
Oh.
A lot of young people here, many of them understand real estate. Where do you see those who haven't started with real estate to go? Like you told him when you met him in 2018 to go into warehouses. Where do you want many of them to go? Which vertical of real estate do you see really shining in the next 4, 5, 6 years?
I think you're just asking where would you tell them to start?
Yeah.
Housing's tough right now, for sure. Single family housing's a great starting point at the right price. These kids have been part of this group for 5 or 10 years already, that they should go they should go buy $1 million warehouse for $600,000 and utilize one of many different strategies that you've been part of. Either go find some kind of wannabe owner occupier and put him in there and mark it up to if it's listed for $1 million, buy it for 700,000, mark it up to 1.2 million and lock him in on some kind of owner finance deal. Make sure he puts down $100,000 or $200,000, charge him $8,000 to $12,000 a month in rent, and then you'll be off to the races. There's an easy way and there's a hard way. You're gonna make money in all different ways in real estate. It just depends on how hard you wanna work. What did you buy, 1.7 million square feet? Giant? Was that the Boston deal? I can't remember that.
600,000.
Oh, 600,000 square feet. Yeah, still that's big. It was empty. I would tell Jake to go start with a $1 million warehouse. I mean, and then get your feet wet and watch the tenant and watch the triple nets and the taxes and the insurance and watch the economy, and then go double down and triple down and quadruple down. And for me, the way I was measuring my growth, if I did something for $1 million, then it needed to be 2 million, then it needed to be 4 million, then it needed to be 16 million. And well, I haven't made too many $32 million purchases, but the last house, or I think it was a $6 million, I did a $6 million house in Houston, and I was like, what's next? Like, what am I gonna do? And whatever, so now I'm, knock knock, I'm doing a $20 million house. So, and I already see myself doing a $30 million house. I have to get a little more liquid. I gotta, so always trying to expand the circle of the price. So I hope that answered your question. I start with houses. If they're green, go to $1 million warehouses and get them on sale. And he knows where to get them on sale.
If you have to advise me, you've seen me for several years now, what would you want me to be doing in investing? Where do you want me to be focusing?
I want you to go to the gym every day. I already told you gotta take care of your temple. Well, you always tell me you don't feel like you have freedom. Are you able to comfortably run business in Chicago and Boston and wherever else? I was in like 10 different states with shopping centers. And now I'm just in I think 4 or 5 states. I cut it in half. Definitely. I mean, I don't know how spread thin you are between going back and forth. There's 2 ways of going about this in the circle that we run. You're either going to do it yourself and do it with a good friend, or you're going to build a whole acquisition. You're going to have your team. And how many people do you have now? Like 50, 60 people? I don't have 1 employee. So it depends on, what you want to do.
So I know both of you are big fans of Tony Robbins,
Yeah.
and you've heard many people's interesting stories. So I'm wondering if you've seen a trend in what's caused people to completely 180 shift their lives and make those breakthroughs and transform themselves. If you've seen any trends, either it's outside event or something that they've done, because I know people want to achieve a goal and they try day after day after day, but then there's some days some day that it just clicks and their life changes. So what exactly is that?
Limitations. You only learn limitations when you're a young child. There are no limitations. There just are none. You have to overcome your self-limitations. And a lot of those people learn how to overcome those self-limitations, or they realize that they created these self-limitations when they go to those events. For lots of people, you and I talked about this, these were traumas that happened to them when they were younger. So they first have to resolve the little Rohan problem, whatever that might be. It starts from the beginning because it's nothing but trapped energy within your body. So you have to get rid of that negative energy and you overcome that limitation. And then it becomes lasting. You asked me, how do you make that lasting energy? Sure, you can create a habit, but why not just clear it all out? So yeah, limiting beliefs, get over them. You can do anything. I mean, you told you, you're a good looking guy. You got your head, you don't drink. You take good care of yourself. You come from a really good family. There's nothing you can't do.
All right, so for me, I think Tony was really pivotal point for me where we're kind of learned the technique of getting things done, when you understand how to go from point A to point B. So I think there's two phases out of that when you say getting things done or successful, whatnot, right? So I think the first one for me, it was Tony introduced of the mechanism how to get shit done. It is a point A and point B, and his skill is just getting a lot of energy into just increasing your energy, increasing your PMs compared to other people, just really just moving through tasks faster. Just moving faster, doing more energy, and you learn that, there's RPM model. So I don't think there's aha moment and you you become Superman, but you're just increasing your pitch and pace of how you move through life overall, right? So you just become more. But then I think, you know, there is a ceiling to it. There is a ceiling to it, you know, how much and how quickly and how fast and how more you can do. I think, you know, then there is a game which is, I think I'm learning right now with here reference to energy when you're trying to attract the game to yourself, right? Which is through, you know, it gets to the woo-woo land, or through manifestations and through visualizations and just kind of, you know, then trying to attract the game, you know, to yourself. So that's another stage, you know, but there's not really like one enlightening moment. You just kind of tune up, and you start moving through execution faster, so to speak, you know.
You measure results with how much money you're making. If that's what you want.
I may need to inform myself a bit more on the current states of office spaces, but are there any, like, have you been seeing any opportunities where people are turning office spaces into industrial multi-use? I mean, I'm assuming office spaces are still drastically down since COVID, and then we're talking about buying things on sale, or rather, I guess it'd be a value add of some sort. Is that?
The wealthiest people, probably in the world, but the wealthiest people in America are buying office space right now. They're buying it for cash, they're not borrowing money, and they're either gonna sit on it or they're repositioning it into some kind of mixed-use product.
If I would not have right now 1 million square feet that I have to fill in, if my hands will be empty, I think office, that will be my game. It's very difficult to figure it out, I think. You know, the way I see it, I think even Vivek is gonna right now tell everyone to go back to work with the federal government. I think he's still gonna, that's my assumption. Those towers should not be filled in. The way I see it, we talk multiple also with each other. I think if you look at, you know, downtown towers, it's something become like a mixed use, like on the top is with some housing, maybe, you know, called, you know, bar, and then maybe some portion of hotel, and then some portion of the micro units, and probably on the bottom maybe retail. That's how those towers are going to turn, but it has to work with code, building codes, municipality. There's window problems, no elevator problems. But absolutely, like, you know, if you go to first principles, you can buy towers right now $20, $30 a foot, right? And any, you know, housing or hotels, you know, downtowns are still trading at $250, $300 a foot. So you have such a big gap. You're not going to spend, you know, $200 in capex. You know, so mathematically it definitely works, but it's very difficult to figure it out. So I think it's a very exciting space to get in. It just, I haven't seen a lot of successful projects yet, but I see people trying, you know. So definitely there's very, very difficult to lose in that space, I think, you know. But there's problems how we're going to finance, how we're going to get debt, you know, and no one believes in it right now. It's already active. But that's how it was in apartments. That's how it was in industrial buildings. The first building I bought, which was warehouse, we bought it for $950,000. Right now it's about 5.2. Not because I'm genius, because at the time no one was lending it. We had to buy cash. And right now everyone's industrial, and that's how the balance went up rather much.
Do you have advice as far as raising capital goes? How did you fund your first deals? And who were the people that you went to first? Was it friends and family? Did you go outside that?
For me, it was always friends and family. I have, in my book of business, I have around 80 or 90 investors in around $200 million of deals. And I really haven't bought anything new with those investors in a year or two. So yeah, I've had them for like the last 5 years. Occasionally, I think it's really good. Like, getting up here and speaking like this, that's where it all came from. Put your name on a book. I mean, that book that I handed out to a lot of you, I've raised $20-30 million just by having that book, and it only costs like a few dollars to print it up on Amazon on demand. So that for sure. And in the housing business, when I started, it was hard money. It was just hard money, and just buy the house cheaper, you know, and pay more interest. Do what you have to do.
I think the first houses that I bought, you know, there was hard money and my own down payment cash and my partner's cash. But when I started raising money, it was friends and family. And I personally never had problems raising money. For me, always I had more deals than I can actually deploy capital. And I had a really good lesson from David Osborne to me once. You know, he told me, look, you know, if you have to go chase capital, your deal's not good enough. If your deal's good enough, you typically never have to chase capital because it's going to come to you. The investors I have there with me for 15 years, 10 years, and most of them, they don't even check my deals. Like, you know, yeah, I have his deal, that's still the same return, here is, many people don't even know exactly where the money is, they just sometimes pay them off. So I think the real advice is just making sure you're never ever gonna have a skeleton in your closet on equity side or on debt side. I had a story, we had to move into one of our rentals in 2008 in Lamont when we couldn't flip that house. But everyone was giving away, short selling houses. We had to move in. Marty was 1 year old, and we have to move in for 2 years. And I still have this house, so right now it has $200,000 equity. But I had a choice to give it away as a short sale, right? And burn the bridges with the bank and the lender, But I didn't do it. So this is just those moments. Sometimes we have to make those choices, But if you'll do that, if you're gonna stay true to your capital as a real fiduciary, that you're gonna fall the last one. You're never gonna have problems with capital, ever.
Thank you. I mean, so again, Rosie and Saul, I mean, you put this together for all of us, and it influences so many people to want to come back. I've already heard a few people say, I'm going to bring my 20 back and I'm going to start my own thing going on here. So yeah, I mean, we're making all this money in real estate. The least we can do is go, drive a few nails into some wood, right?
Yeah, and thank you for everyone who joined us. I mean, I know that you guys have other places where you can be and, things to do. And it takes time of your life to come here and help that family. But I think it's really fulfilling, and tomorrow you're all gonna feel that. It's just gonna be amazing. So thank you.